Okay, good to see everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Before we get started, I'd just like to, express a healthy recovery to Nick Chubb. Obviously, a great football player, and have a lot of respect for him and want to wish him well in his road to recovery. Very proud of our players. Again, like I spoke about Saturday night, really stepped up. When you look at all the things that went the way they weren't planned, and that's life. Nothing's ever perfect, and you have to adapt and adjust and be able to hit adversity and persevere head on. And with the snap and clear mentality, and you look at the two plays with the fumble recovery of 96 yards and a punt return for a touchdown where there's a flag on the play. And so you're thinking the play's coming back, and then all of a sudden it's picked up and there's a touchdown. Those are backbreakers. Not very many teams can respond to that. I thought our players responded to that and obviously gave us an opportunity to win. 519 yards of total offense. I thought we had very good balance, the best balance we've had all year, with 312 yards passing and 207 rushing the football. Our players stepped up and made critical plays at critical moments of the game. What can I say about the individual effort of Joshua Dobbs? He had the will to win, and our team fed off of him, and they fed off of his energy. We have 19 players from the state of Georgia, and all 19 players helped us win that football game in one way, shape, form, or another, and very proud of them. Moving on to the bye week, very important week for this football team. I've kind of broken it down into two facets, one for the coaching staff and then one for the team, and kind of the list of things that we need to get accomplished in this bye week by the coaching staff is, first of all, self-scout, going back and looking at the first 6 games and going back and looking at our schemes and evaluating everything, evaluating our personnel. Then it gets into player development, really developing our players over this next week, and then preparing for our next opportunity, and then obviously recruiting as well. From a team standpoint, first and foremost is getting our health back. I think the bye week's coming at a very needed time in terms of our overall health. It's been a challenge. It's been physically exhausting and mentally exhausting the first 6 weeks. So to be able to get our health back is going to be critical. Our overall fundamentals and details of what it takes to play winning football in every position, all 9 position groups, and then our 3 units as well. And then development of our players, and then on to our next opponent. Before I open it up to questions, kind of an injury update. Shy Tuttle has a broken fibula in an ankle ligament, so he will unfortunately miss the rest of the year, so he'll be out this season. That is a big blow to our football team. Love everything about Shy Tuttle. I thought he was continuing to progress and get better and better, and really had developed into one of our playmakers on defense. Everyone else we expect fully back. Ja'Shawn Robertson, Matt Crowder, Brett Kendrick, we fully anticipate them being back. Marquez North will practice today. We will hold some players a couple practice this week to get into the training room and get the extra treatments that they need. But all in all, we anticipate everyone being back, but Shy Tuttle's the big news and a big blow for us defensively. So I'll answer any questions you may have.
Rick in the back, and Steve in the front, and then Mike Strange.
Coach, I guess before we go any further, your thoughts on Coach Spurrier retiring and the legacy that he leaves for college football in the SEC?
Well, you just said it, Rick, the legacy. He's a legend. He's a living legend. He's brought so much to the coaching profession. He's brought so much to the game of football, and he's brought so much to the Southeastern Conference. I've really enjoyed the last couple years having the opportunity to compete against a legend, have the utmost respect for him, but we've had some great conversations. I grew up a big Tampa Bay Bandits fan, and so every time we get together, we talk Bandit ball, we talk about those days, and ironically, a couple weeks ago, my wife was cleaning out the basement, and she found a framed 8x10 photo of a game program that Coach Spurrier had signed to me and autographed. And so he's meant so much to me from a personal note of really watching him, and then also from our profession as well, and we're going to miss him.
Steve, in front.
Just regarding injuries against Shy Tuttle, you said an ankle ligament. I assume it's a tear.
Yes.
And Jason Kroom, is there any update on that?
Yeah, continue to progress. We're going to try to get him into some individual periods here in the next couple days and see how it progresses. But I can't really give you any information right now because he hasn't done much to this point. He is getting better. So this bye week will be big for him in the next couple days.
Michael Spencer.
Coach, speaking of injuries, Kurt Magid and his status, how is he coming along?
He's coming along. He had an MRI. He's still, not where he can participate or anything like that. So he's still out an extended period of time. Time frame still do not know. It could possibly the last game of the year. He may not play. It's all based again on his recovery of his body. But, he's progressing, but he's not anywhere point where he can play football right now. He's getting to that point, but he's not anywhere close to that. But we do see progress.
Paul over here.
Butch, with how Chance Hall and Jack Jones played, I guess first tell us how you guys evaluated them, and then what do you do on the offensive line if they played well enough to kind of continue to play?
I would say learning by trial and error. They did a very good job. I thought they came into a very challenging situation, a very difficult situation versus a very, very talented defensive front. First-year players, and I think the thing that sums it up is when we talked to Chance, he said, Coach, everything was really fast. And, for what they were able to do, I thought they handled it remarkably. I thought they did a good job, but, it's that consistency, and you're only going to get it through reps and through practice. And, the individuals that went out, they've been progressing. Brett Kendrick, the strides that he was making. Ja'Shawn Robertson continues to get better. Mack played very good football for us before he went out. So our entire offensive front continues to get better. We all know the challenge we're going to have here in a couple weeks. Arguably the best defensive front in the country. So we're going to be challenged, big, physical. But we've also played some very good fronts. I would rank Florida up there as good as anyone as well. But that whole unit continues to progress. I thought Coleman Thomas, too, may have played his best game of the year. Thought he did some very good things as well. And sorry, I don't want to keep jumping around, but I'd really be remiss if I didn't bring up Dylan Wiseman either as well. He was the winner of My All. We have a weekly award of the individual who gives their all, and Dylan won that award, and very deservingly so. He's one of those individuals that's been battling through nagging injuries, and he played physical, and he helped us play winning football, and I've been very, very proud of him, and he's really stepped it up. And he's a very tough young man, and that showed on Saturday.
Seth and Brent and Steve.
There's been some, big plays been had by opposing offenses in the passing attack. Should we expect Justin Martin to get some more work with the first team and moving forward?
Yeah, we'll continue to proceed with Justin. Justin's kind of going through that learning curve right now, just like Chance and Jack. But any live game repetitions, especially in critical moments of the game, are going to be critical for him. He continues to progress. This bye week, this work week is very, very important to him to get him the quality reps that he needs to get. But I've been very encouraged by what we see. He definitely has the skill set. Now it's just the live game repetitions.
Brent and Steve.
Butch, is going back to the offensive line as you move forward through the bye in the second half of the season, would you be willing to play a rotation, a rotation of those guys up there to get them all continued game reps and continue their development, or do you want to settle back in with the five as they all get back from injury and kind of go from there? How do you balance the depth that you have with getting reps and game reps there with those guys?
I think, first of all, it's based on how far each individual comes and do they earn that playing time. And, I'm not opposed to playing a number of individuals. I think I read an article where the New England Patriots a couple weeks ago had 10 different offensive line lineups in rotating players through. But this week is going to be big for a number of individuals, and I think it's how they progress. I think it's how the overall health of the offensive line progresses as well. But, when we talk about being at the halfway point of position groups that have taken tremendous strides, the first position group I would point towards is the offensive line. I see them getting better and better and better in terms of pad level, overall technique, the ability to finish and sustain blocks. But I think it's based on the health and then how every individual comes around. So I'll know a little bit more probably in the next week.
Steve, then John Bryce.
First, kind of a two-part question. First, you mentioned Josh Dobbs and his performance Saturday. What was the biggest difference you saw in him Saturday versus how he played the rest of the season? And also, I'm just wondering, with an up-tempo offense, how much does it depend on the play of the quarterbacks, is it more so than maybe other offensive schemes?
Well, first of all, Josh had that great will to win. He held his teammates accountable. He had great energy on the sideline. He put the ball a number of times where only our receiver could catch the football. I thought he was very determined. He managed the game very well. He made good decisions in the throw game. He made good decisions in the run game with all the different options that present him on every run play. So he's been playing very consistently, but I just thought his overall demeanor, his will to win, his demanding of his teammates, the confidence that he showed in them, the confidence that he showed in himself, I was very, very pleased and very proud of him with his performance. And like I told you, he willed this football team to win. In terms of playing with great speed and tempo on offense, we ran 90 plays, and that was a big part of the game plan. Is we wanted to do some things vertically, we wanted to do some things horizontally in terms of our schematics. We wanted to play fast, we wanted to push it a little bit in terms of tempo, and I thought our players did a great job of really executing the game plan. I think in any offense, whether you're a huddle offense, whether you're an up-tempo offense, everything is based on the quarterback, and we talk about the quarterback usually gets too much praise when we win and too much blame when we lose, but that's part of playing quarterback, and they're the individual who touches the ball in every possession. They're the coach on the field. So I don't really think it's determined by any offensive system that you use. It's a quarterback-driven system. I know in our offense, it's a quarterback-driven offense, and Josh is playing very well right now.
John, then Dustin, then Patrick.
Butch, did you learn something? Yeah, over here. Did you learn something from Kendall Vickers from a maturity and toughness standpoint Saturday night? I don't think he played at all in the third quarter until he had to come in when Tuttle went down with the injury. And then part two on those young offensive linemen, how much more competitive do you think they can be because they saw so much action against an SEC team and not a Western Carolina?
Well, first of all, to answer your question on Kendall Vickers, he's a warrior, and he's an individual that you talk about a program player, a player that is developed in your football program. I believe when we recruited him, and he was a late signee, if you remember, in the spring, I believe he was about 230 pounds, and now he's almost 290 pounds. And the only way you do that is through a strong commitment in your diet, in the weight room. He's a leader, and he showed some great determination and toughness in that game because he battled through injuries, and when the game was on the line, he wanted to be on the field and make a difference. So I can't say enough about Kendall Vickers and his development in our football program, and he deserves a lot of credit because he's worked hard for that. In terms of the competition in the offensive line, absolutely. They played a very physical front, a very athletic front, one of the better defenses in our conference. And anytime you can get live game repetitions against that type of competition, you can try to simulate game-like conditions and game experience in practice, and we try to do that, but it's never as much as the true in-game experience. And so I think they'll value that. I think they'll learn from it, and I think it'll make them better from that. And I know they gain some confidence from that as well.
Dustin, then Patrick, then Steph.
We're just with Shy out. What changes the defensive tackle? Do you look for a fifth guy there? Do you give more reps to, I guess, Khalil and O'Brien and Williams and Vickers?
Yeah, that'll be ongoing to see who can step up into that fifth spot. Again, we're very, very limited there, so our health is going to be critical. And we're going to play the guys that have played, but we'll continue to work throughout this course, this week of practice, throughout the course of the week. Quay could also be an individual now who gains more valuable repetitions. So this week is very, very big for Quay, and see how he can develop. But again, that's an area in recruitment that we got to continue to grow and develop. And that's what we talked about at the beginning of the year. You know, we still don't have that competitive depth across the board at all 9 position groups. And the only way you address those situations is to continue to develop and recruit. And that's a situation where all our players are developing there. We just need to continue to recruit numbers as well, because like we know, this is a line of scrimmage league. That's basically it. We may look at Demarie Mixon. We may look at Kyle Phillips, some of moving them around. Maybe go to a 3-down front as well. Maybe do some more 3 downs. We're kind of seeing more of that on offense anyways, and our defense is to the point from a system standpoint that we have the luxury to be able to do more 3 down. So you may see that as well.
Are you still anticipating Kyle Phillips being available?
I do. He's supposed to practice today, yes.
Patrick, then Seth, and then a few more.
Butch, after the first few weeks, the losses, how different, I guess, have the last 3 days been coming off of this win for you? And do you think it's kind of maybe rejuvenated the players going into the open day?
You know, it may sound scripted or rehearsed, but you know me, I always tell it like it is. It's been the same. It's been business as usual. Obviously, there's no substitute for winning. There's no substitute for positivity. And our players gained a lot of confidence. They had a lot of energy yesterday. I thought they were excited to come to meetings. I liked their approach. But for us, it goes back to business as usual and preparing, and just like going through that checklist from a coaching standpoint and a team standpoint, this week is very big. But I think anytime you win, you know, it makes preparation, makes it that much better, because that's what you work for. So I would say the whole temperament, yes, but it's always business as usual. And like I always say, praise and blame, it's all the same. Just keep your head down and keep working every day, and you'll like your body of work. But again, the way our players responded in some very trying moments on Saturday, I think speaks volumes of our competitive character that we have in the leadership. And I spoke about the 19 players from the state of Georgia, but one individual who has really, really stepped up in the last couple of weeks, kind of in the absence of Kurt Magid, has been Brian Randolph. He's really stepped up into a leadership role. He's being very vocal. He's making others around him accountable, and he's really welcomed that title of leader. And I've seen a complete change in him in terms of just being more vocal and being more outspoken, and that's been great to see. And our players have fed off of that.
Now that the halfway point is here, you said you were going to do some self-scouting on the past 6 games. Just what would be like your real quick off-the-cuff assessment of yourself, the staff, and the team as a whole to this point?
Well, progressing. I think our football team continues to grow and get better and better and better. And, you know, we've been behind a little bit in terms of injuries, but we've had individuals step up game in and game out. So we have to do a much better job as coaches of coaching and teaching the fundamentals. We have to be a better tackling team on defense. We have to start taking the ball away more on defense. You know, we had a couple opportunities Saturday, and we weren't able to do that. But we need more ball disruptions. We need to take the ball away more. You know, obviously the punt return sticks in you every day, and we're going to go back to the basics of covering punts and our body position and our landmarks on the returner. I would say 3rd down conversions and red zone opportunities, cashing them into touchdowns, the games that we've been successful. You know, you look at the Georgia game, we were able to come away with 7 points as opposed to 3 points. And the games that we've struggled, we've had to kick field goals in the red zone. So really evaluating everything. You know, it starts with myself. It starts with us as a coaching staff. And it's everyone taking accountability for their own self-determination and working to be better in all that we do. And as a coach, you always evaluate yourself after every single game, and you always, that's how you learn. There's always things you can do better. and we have to continue to get better. First and foremost, myself, our coaching staff, and then, continue to progress with every individual player on our team, and then collectively with nine positions in 3 units. But I do see us making progress each and every day in our football program.
Danny, then Dustin, and Mike Strange, and that'll be it.
Coach, you kind of touched on this with the answer to Patrick already, but 2 of your future opponents are already going to have new head coaches this season. We see what's going on in LA with Steve Sarkisian. Just how tough is this position, this job, is the human side of it, to take away from the coaching side, but how tough is it on you and your family with all the scrutiny that goes with it?
I think it's more so the families. It's the families that are involved. It's your wife, it's your children. It's not a hobby. It's not a job. It's our life. And you live it each and every day. And, with us, Barb becomes part of the fabric. She's another mother to 105 other young adults on our football team. And you build great relationships with parents and players, and, you're hurt. But there is a human side to it. You want your players to succeed, and, but I think it's more with our families. My kids with going to school on a Monday after a loss is very, very challenging, very difficult. Barb being in the community, but that also comes with the territory. And I always have a long talk with my 3 boys, about what it entails, and especially having a freshman here at Tennessee, we had to have a long talk. Is that, hey, there's going to be things that you don't like to hear about your dad and all that. You just have to keep your head down, and I think it helps them mature. The same thing with having a 9th grader in high school and the things he hears. My 9-year-old is a little immune to it right now, but that comes with the territory. But also, I think this is a very rewarding profession when you can change lives, when you can have an impact in the lives of young adults and teach them life lessons and teach them a work ethic, improve character, and demand from them. And when you see them make change, the definition, of coaching is creating change. And when you see them doing the things, I thought Preston Williams from the previous week to last week made monumental changes, really, really improved. He was so proud of himself. He came in, and we always give game test. And he went and he answered every single position in the receiver room, their test. He did it. He had everything drawn up. And to me, that's progress. That's coaching. That's making a difference. And I see that in our football team. So as much of adversity and things that come with this profession, it's a very rewarding profession. You have to love what you're doing. And I love coaching, and I love being the head football coach at the University of Tennessee, and I love that responsibility.
Dustin, and then Mike Strange.
This is a little bit similar to what Seth asked before, but when you do it self-scouting, I guess at this point, I guess if you were an opposing coach looking at your team, what do you think you would think about it right now? What would be your assessment of your team if you were looking at it from that angle?
Well, I'm not going to give any coaches any favors to give them that breakdown, but we have to look at anything and everything. And, all great teams, all teams that execute have tendencies. Sometimes you can get to a point where you try to do so much tendency breakers that you get outside of what you do best. And I always ask our coaches, this is, what do we own on offense? What do we own? What do our players execute? And then what can we do that fits their skill set? The same thing defensively. What do we do well? What are our deficiencies? How are we going to improve? How are we going to continue to grow and expand upon the things that we do well? And that's what this week is for. So this is a very, very busy week, but you try to research everything. But again, teams that execute are going to have tendencies because you do what you do. And if you do what you do and you do it well, you're going to have success, and you build off those tendencies. But that's everything we're looking at.
Butch, not many coaches go out with an undefeated record against Steve Spurrier. You do, but I was thinking maybe you wouldn't remember him from back in his vintage days in Florida, but if you're bringing up the Tampa Bay Bandits, you probably do. What do you remember about Steve football-wise?
Well, first of all, growing up a big Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, I remember number 11 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I was at a very, very, very young age at that time. But same thing in coaching, very, very competitive, have that fiery approach. I think he's great for the game because you never know what he's going to say. He's brutally honest. He has a great personality, and he's not afraid to tell you what he thinks. And, you know, the many nights that him and I spent together in Destin at the SEC meetings and hanging out and talking football and just talking, those are some of the most rewarding interactions I've had with an individual. And I think, again, he was very healthy for our conference. And I know y'all in the media loved him because you never knew what was coming next. And that's part of the aura of Steve Spurrier. But when you look at it, he was a winner, a great, great competitor, and meant a lot to this great game, both in the professional ranks and the collegiate level as well.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.